Hey Ford, you missed a spot. Why didn't you put a panel there? Today's video, we're going to be doing exactly that. A product from Mabett for your 2022 and up Ford Maverick. Let's roll. Hey folks, welcome to my channel. Today we're doing a video for the Mabett Underbody Protector for your Ford Maverick. You can get this off of Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description. First thing on the box, you have your instructions to install this. You have both of your panels. This is a two-piece panel that you install over the top of your muffler. And you have all your brackets in here, your hardware, your screws, everything. It comes with these two tools. That should be the only thing you need. I'm going to recommend you find your own tools probably. These might not work very well on the original bolts that you have to take out on your Ford Maverick. Mine's got like 75,000 miles on it, so if they've been in there a while, might be a little difficult to pull those out, but you don't want to damage the screws and bolts that you're taking out because you're going to reuse some of them to install these panels. Let's go back out to the truck and get this installed now. All right, first thing I'm going to do, folks, I'm going to remove this nut and bolt here for the one bracket. This is actually a 10mm nut and bolt that's right here. I'm not using their tool because this is painted over and it's been on the truck for 75,000 miles. So I'm using my 10mm socket. And the next part you're going to do is you're going to push these wiring harnesses out of the way because there's another bracket that's going to go right there. And I'm really hoping this is focusing so you can see what I'm doing. But this is where I'm at. I'll show you from this angle as well. I'm right over top of the exhaust here. I'm not taking the exhaust off, but you're taking this one off right here. Honestly, folks, I don't even know if I needed the wrench on the other side. That might already be in there, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'll try to focus the camera more in on that, but like I said, this is a painted part on here, so just trying to get this bolt out so I can do the first bracket. All right, folks, we're going to take the bracket with the screw that I just took out, the bolt. We're going to slide it up here and put it back in where it was already bolted. We're going to put it in like so. This sits up in here like this. If we can get it lined up like that, line your hole up. Oops. And then you put your bolt in. That's if I can get my hand in there to do this, folks, and show you on camera. But that just goes back in there where it was before. Get this bracket tightened down, and then we'll go to the next bracket. All right, folks, what we're going to do next is this piece here, this wire harness where it comes through. You need to pull this out. We're not going to be reusing this little attachment here on the wire harness, so don't be afraid to cut it off if that's easier for you, or you could take a pair of needle nose pliers just to push it out. But what we're going to be doing is using this bracket here. It's going to go on the outside, and then this screw here is going to go through that. All right, folks, you're going to take your bracket like this, try to work around your wiring the best you can, and you got your bolt here where that hole was before. Kind of line everything up, get the wiring out of the way, and get it finger tight just to get it in there. Be careful with your wiring. Like I said, this might be hard to see, but trying to get it started upside down is not fun, but once you get it started, then you can start using your 10mm wrench again. See where I'm going, folks? That's how it goes. The hole is going to be over this way. It's the shorter side toward the bottom. It's lined up. I'm going to go ahead and tighten that up with my 10mm socket, and we'll go to the next step. All right, folks, the next part, you're going to take two of these. These actually pinch in where there's two square holes already in the underside of the truck. Pretty self-explanatory. They go on the top, and you just have to be able to pinch them through. Let's see if I can get them in here. Get both of my hands in here. But yeah, you just take them, kind of pinch them down a little bit. Shouldn't matter which direction they go, honestly, because it's just like a pinch nut. It's just there to hold the nut in place, but there's one there, and there's the other one that's under the back side of the muffler. Let's see if I can get to that angle. Right there, right in direct line. Let's see. Right there. where I'm pointing, but you put both of those nuts in the one spot I just showed you and right there. All right, folks, I'm not gonna lie to you, this part is probably the most difficult part so far to get to. You're not gonna be able to loosen these two up with the tool provided. There's no way you're gonna loosen them up. You can get them loosened up with another tool. These are 18mm bolts. I hope you have an 18mm wrench or socket to loosen those up. I was able to loosen them up with one of these because this is the only thing I have. Unfortunately, I don't have 18mm anything to use. Well, once you actually have them loosened up, you can take them off with the tool like this. And I even said something to Mabett in their own video about this. There's no way you're loosening these two bolts up with this provided tool. This thing is not strong enough to hold up to that. So I'm going to take these off. That's the next step in the like I said, folks, this one is a little bit more difficult on the EcoBoost because of the muffler being here, but I don't want to take my exhaust off, so you're going to have to loosen these up with another tool, like I said, and then you can take them off with this tool afterwards. These are definitely Loctited in though, folks. They're not really designed to come back out again, I don't believe, but today they're coming out so we can do this panel. All right, folks, now we're going to be installing the first of the two panels. You're going to need one of these back to use again, and you got both of these to install this panel and the two square nuts that we had to push through the top side. Let's get this panel installed. All right, folks, I'm going to slide this piece over the muffler like this. It actually goes in pretty easy. I am lining it up with the old bolt hole right there. I will put that bolt in first. Just get it finger tight now. Just start it off and we'll go through the whole fun part of tightening everything back down again. This 18mm bolt. But again, I got to get it started in there just enough to hold it into place, and then I'll get the other two bolts put in there on the other side. Get it most of the way tightened down so it can't go anywhere, folks. I'll tighten it down with the wrench after. We'll move to the other side, and we got to line up both of these, the one that's here and then the one that's on the other side of the muffler. Right there. Here, folks, I'll take, remember you got your bolt and your two washers that come in the one bag together. Like I said, just get this one started to kind of hold it in place, and then we'll line up the other one and get that one on there. Maybe. That should be good, and then we'll get the other one in, oops, on the other side. And folks, that hopefully that piece stayed in there because it's moving around on me a little bit. But once you get it started, it is not going anywhere. What? Get those tightened down, we'll go to the next part. All right, folks, I didn't tighten down those three bolts quite all the way. I want to be able to move the panel around a little bit, because the next step of what we're going to do, we're going to put the back panel on now. We got to get that lined up with that bolt hole again, and then we'll have to line up all the other holes with the existing brackets that we already installed and the back panel. For right now, folks, I'm using both hands just to kind of get this tightened down, to hold it up close. Of course, this is a tight area to work in, but I'm going to get it tightened down, and then I'll put the bolts in on the other side. Again, don't tighten this all the way till you have everything lined up, and then you can go around afterwards and snug all these main bolts down. All right, folks, this is the final stretch we're in. Let's go ahead and we'll get our bolts set up. You're going to need 3 like this to attach the two panels. You got your lock washer, etc. I think we got one extra here. I'm going to set that off to the side, and I think one of these is extra. You're going to use these to attach to the two brackets we installed at the beginning. And this is the part where we're going to try and line everything up before we do the final tighten down. This is why I told you earlier not to snug everything down, because these 3 will bolt the two panels together, and then you may need to make sure you can get these 2 into the 2 brackets we installed at the beginning. Okay, folks, we're lined up with the bracket hole over here. As long as you installed those brackets correctly earlier, you should have no issue. And again, I'm going to finger tighten all these first before I do a final tighten down. Again, we might have to slide a panel And that's why we want them finger tight just until we get to where we're going. All right, folks, those are finger tight in there. Now you're going to have to work your way in to the 3 holes here. That's why you want to leave your panels a little loose. You can bump it like that and then finger tight for all 3 of them. It might be a little difficult from the other side of the muffler, but that's how it goes. Let's get these snug down. All right, folks, all the bolts are in. Basically, the last step you got to do is go through and just snug everything down. You can use the provided tools, like I said, or you could use your own better tools. I highly recommend using your own better tools, but I'm actually, it shouldn't matter at this point, but I'm going to snug down the 2 main bolts that are holding it in there. Get yourself a good 18mm socket to do this job, or 18mm wrench. It's probably going to be easier to do a wrench if you have the muffler in the way like I do right now. That's it, folks. Another install on my 2022 Ford Maverick. I'm just going to keep going through and tightening all this down. Thanks for watching. I have some more Maverick stuff coming on the way, and I have stuff for my motorcycle on the way. Bye from underneath the Maverick.